Welcome to this week's edition of Meidas Defense. I'm Marine Corps veteran Joe Plenzler. 96 days. That's how long the United States has been locked into a conflict this administration has refused to call a war. But everyone on the ground knows exactly what it's become, a quagmire. This is a war that no American voted for, a war that has cost the lives of 13 U.S. service members and wounded hundreds more. It's a war that's killed thousands of Iranian civilians and other civilians throughout the region, wounded tens of thousands, and displaced millions from their homes. Recently, I sat down with award-winning journalist and author Kevin Maurer to unpack his bombshell Rolling Stone piece on the Pentagon, Pete Hegseth, and the brutal reality of what's happening in the Middle East. What came out of that conversation is a chilling reality check. The traditional American playbook of war, it's officially broken. Trump's pressure on Iran, Hegseth's lethality, kill harder, it all didn't work, and our nation's adversaries are taking note. So what did Kevin see as he looks at the Pentagon and the Persian Gulf?
Message I'm getting is that it's a quagmire. It's exactly what they keep telling us that it's not. There is no good option. I think Joe Kent's resignation, I think, signals this sort of break in the way that the administration likes to handle these things. And the issue we've run into now as a nation is there is no easy exit. The war is being dictated to some extent by Iran, and they're searching for a way out, from what I can gather.
Yeah. I mean, it almost kind of smacks of that saying in Afghanistan that you probably heard of, you may have the clock, but we have the time. Mm-hmm. And tell me, I mean, you've been looking at the region for a while. You certainly know the U.S. military fairly in depth. Like, is this turning into another forever war?
Oh, I don't think so, because I just don't think we can sustain it as a nation. I mean, this is a different kind of war. This isn't, hundreds of thousands of troops chasing insurgents in the rural rural mountains or areas. This is billions of dollars being fired, at each other. This is aircraft and ships. I just don't think it's a sustainable way to fight. And I think it exposes the American way of war in a way that the Afghanistan and Iraq conflicts didn't.
But perhaps the most breathtaking part of our discussion centers on the geopolitical fallout. The post-World War II international order is being dismantled right before our eyes. This is the very world order that has largely prevented world wars for 80 years.
So I've just finished a story with a World War II veteran, and we were talking about this because, one of the things we talked about was the world that the World War II veteran built is being dismantled at this point, right? Yeah. They fought a war that then rebuilt Europe and rebuilt an alliance, but also rebuilt a free market system that benefited the United States. Now, it helped the world, but it was built for the United States, right? To some extent, for most of the extent. And so if you look at what a post-Iran, let's just say for argument's sake that the United States makes a deal with Iran, and you have, they have more control of the Strait of Hormuz than they had before. All the parameters that we've anyone watching the war has a good sense of what's going to happen. But in the course of this war, the United States has disparaged its allies in Europe. It's cozied up closer to China. It is given leeway to Russia through sanction relief. And it's just created a world where it's much more dangerous, that adversaries of the United States and the free market system now have much more power and sway. And we're looking at a shuttle diplomacy by the Pakistanis. We're looking at an India that is in a perfect position as the nexus between the Indo-Pacific and then that crossroads leading into Europe. I think we're staring at a sunsetting of what we've grown up to remember as the Americans are. We come and negotiate peace. We're the ones that come in and stop conflicts. Mm-hmm. Now, we're looking at an America now that gets involved in conflicts by our choice and prosecutes these conflicts. And I think I'm not sure where we're going. I never thought I'd see this. So we are very much in uncharted waters, and I'm quickly, the learning curve for me is I think just as steep as everybody else.
And during the interview, Kevin asked a very important question. Did the U.S. just rack up a major strategic loss? The United States has not shown a similar commitment, right? And so, I mean, again, I see Trump painted himself into a corner. The United States is on the horns of a dilemma. You can't secure the strait by force unless you're willing to put a lot of troops on the ground, which is going to be really bloody and really costly and really unpopular all right before the midterm elections. And you can't leave without a massive loss of face. And you know, the negotiated settlement is really an American capitulation of power, in my estimation. I don't know, like what metrics are you kind of looking at as you're evaluating where we're at today? And
I mean, based on much of the same that you said in our pre-show email. I mean, I think all those things. I think your assessment is correct. The problem is, in my opinion, is what do you do?
yeah,
You can't keep perpetual conflict because you're killing the world economy. You're not going to be able to, kill your way to victory. I think the only response is to leave.
yeah,
It's going to put the United States in a position of, it begs the question: did the United States lose its first strategic and tactical war?
yeah.
But I don't think committing 100, 200,000 troops to Iran is a viable option, and I don't think continuing to keep the Strait of Hormuz as a conflict zone is a viable option either. I think you've degraded the alliances in the Middle East, and the silver lining of this is maybe this forces military planners to rethink the way the U.S. projects power.
Yeah.
You no longer have static bases in the Middle East. You have to rely on other means to do it.
And Kevin comments about how Trump and company drank their own Kool-Aid when planning the attack on Iran.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't at all. And it's pretty stark. I mean, that's a hard lesson. And every Navy officer I talked to about this conflict, and they said, every war game, we war gamed, the Strait of Hormuz getting taken. And I remember asking one of the officers, I said, well, did you guys ever win?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, yeah, but it wasn't easy. And it was a lot of sacrifice to it.
Yeah.
It seems to me that Trump drank his own drinking his own Kool-Aid, that he thought the Venezuela mission would be the same, and they could go in there, decapitate the regime, and then negotiate it, and that'd be great. And I wonder how it would have been interesting to be a reporter in that room when they realized, wait a second, this isn't going to go what we want it to go, and now we have to figure out a contingency. And I think maybe the indictment on the whole conflict so far is that it doesn't appear they had a good contingency plan.
Thanks for watching. For the full interview, check it out on Meidas Plus on Substack, and you can follow me on Substack at Joe Plenzler, and check out our in-depth work on national security at Valor Media.